Bulls Talk is back on Pippen Ain't Radio Network, and what a perfect time to come back. No better time than for an Eastern Conference showdown between the Bulls and the Miami Heat, the winner representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. We've got our Pippen Ain't Easy, the official prediction, next on Bulls Talk, the return on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network. Bulls Talk is back on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network. And what a great time to come back, right? What a great time to get everything working right here in the Pippen Ain't Easy studios. It's perfect. It's almost an omen, if you would say, of things to come for the Chicago Bulls. Hopefully, because if nothing goes wrong with if nothing goes wrong with the equipment we got running here, we're going to be off and running for a very long time. Same goes for the Chicago Bulls. If they get that equipment, that product on the court working, they're going to be off and running for a very long time. But let's focus on the here and the now. And the here and the now is the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat. Big Eastern Conference showdown. Probably the best Eastern Conference finals that we're going to have for a very long, that we would have had in quite a while, actually. And expect plenty more of these, too. I mean, whether it's with the Bulls and the Heat or the Hawks looked impressive, maybe the Hawks and the Heat. Bulls and Heat, though, that could be a rivalry that it's looking pretty good, like it's going to have a lot of life in it. This is a great way to continue that rivalry because we saw episode 1 of the rivalry, which was during the season, which saw the Bulls absolutely dominate the Heat. Now, there are Heat fans and critics of the Bulls who are pointing to very obvious flaws in the confidence that the Bulls and Bulls fans are drawing from the regular season series, which is LeBron James wasn't playing for one of the games, the Heat weren't clicking in the final game of the series where they were clicking and LeBron James was healthy. It came down to the wire and it was won by Luol Deng at the free throw line. That's good and fine. Expect that to be the way this series goes, okay? I don't want to hear any complaining if the series is won by Luol Deng on the free throw line. If that happens, the series is won by Luol Deng on the free throw line. The Bulls are going to the NBA Finals because Luol Deng won it on the free throw line. When you want to, I don't know what everybody's trying to say by digging into that like it's a bad thing. Same thing goes for the Heat. If LeBron James can win this series for the Heat from the free throw line in the final seconds, on a bad call against the Bulls, it could go either way. That's the way most of these playoff basketball games are won. Don't expect it to be blowouts by either team. But focusing particularly on Game 1, there has been people obviously are flip-flopping throughout the week, but there has been a pretty constant slant in favor of the Miami Heat. Understandably, because you have two of the biggest names in the NBA. You have LeBron James, who is perhaps the best overall athlete in the NBA. Maybe wasn't the best player this year because, Chicago has that in Derrick Rose. But there is no doubting that LeBron James is probably the best player in the NBA, even if he's not winning the MVP award. So you have him. That's going to give you guys the advantage. And you also have Dwayne Wade, who he's won a championship in Miami. Let's not forget that. Ironically, coincidentally maybe, against the Dallas Mavericks, who, if they get past the Bulls, may end up facing in the NBA Finals. So you have those two guys, which, of course, gives you an obvious advantage. But I don't understand why there's this absolute certainty that the Heat are going to come out of this. Yes, they've looked impressive in the playoffs. Yes, the Bulls have looked, at times, a majority of the playoffs actually, very sloppy, like they don't want to win. But the series, the who represents the Eastern Conference isn't going to be determined by how the Bulls played against the Pacers and the Hawks. It's going to be determined about how they play against the Heat. Now, how they do play against the Heat, you could base your prediction off of how they played against the Pacers and the Hawks, but don't look at the stats the wrong way. Okay, you have to look at particular games where the Bulls have had things on the line, which is what this entire series is going to be. Game 5 against the Pacers, their credibility was very much on the line. Their reputation was on the line. And they dominated. They were there the entire game. They were playing as a unit. They played like the way they played in the regular season. Game 6 against the Hawks. Everything was on the line basically there because you don't want to go to Game 7, and that would not be good. Everything was on the line in Game 6 against the Hawks. They were there the entire game. They dominated like they did in the regular season, okay? This series, this 6 or 7 game series is probably what it will go to. Everything is on the line every single game. These two teams are staring each other right in the face. And the first one that blinks is going to be the one that's going to be at a disadvantage. The Bulls have an opportunity to force the Heat to blink first because the first 2 games are at the United Center. Okay? The Heat have something to prove at the United Center. They haven't won there yet. But everything is on the line for the Bulls in this series, and I think that is why they're going to come out and they're going to absolutely show their true face, which is what that 62-game team was. For 62 games in the regular season, the Chicago Bulls showed up, dominated, burned, buried, and left behind whoever came in their way. Those other games, hopefully those are not repeated. You know they're not going to sweep, though. That's a naive and very stubborn stance to take. And so is it if you're a Heat fan. If you're a Heat fan and you think you're going to sweep the Bulls, you're obviously not watching anything these two teams have done. Okay, these two teams are built very similarly. They're not going to sweep each other. Not going to happen. What the Bulls did during the regular season, although impressive, was a fluke, okay? It's not going to be a sweep. 3 games the Bulls won against the Heat in the regular season. They need to get at least 4, okay, folks? Bulls are not going to sweep. Doesn't mean the Bulls are going to lose, though. Heat are not going to sweep. Doesn't mean the Heat are going to lose either. There's just this incredible slant towards the Heat, like there was at the beginning of the regular season, like they already have this series won. And to hear that as a Bulls fan is frustrating. And to hear that as a basketball fan is very frustrating. And it's going to come down to who wins the game, really. And that's what it's going to be. Whoever comes out to play is going to win this series. Now, whether that's Chicago or whether that's Miami is going to be 2 very different things. But it's not done yet. They have to play Game 1 still. It's still a couple hours away. The Heat have not won anything yet. So I don't want to hear all of this talk about the Heat getting ready to play whoever the Mavericks or whoever comes out of the West. Okay? You need to get past the Bulls first. And I think if the Heat are in that mindset, which I don't think they are, I think it's just the writers in Miami, the analysts out of Miami, the fans out of Miami, all, 6 of them until the game starts, and then they have half the country behind them. You have all of these people with an obvious bias. I mean, that'd be the same thing. I can understand someone thinking the same thing about my point of view on this, because I have an obvious bias coming out of Chicago. But you can't blatantly ignore statistics the way some of these analysts are. I mean, they're just so drunk on the way that the Heat have been playing this postseason that it's the way the Bulls felt coming into the postseason. You know, like they were going to sweep their way to the finals. Okay, you got to sober up from that. Hopefully the Bulls can use that against the Heat, which I don't think the players are under that impression. It's just everybody else. But you have to play the series. And that's just been so frustrating to hear this past week. You have to play the series first. The Heat have not won anything. The Bulls have not won anything. They play Game 1 in a couple of hours on TNT. Okay? Nobody has won anything yet. After Game 1, after you see how these two teams play against each other in a playoff setting, in a high-octane, high-pressure situation, then you can analyze how they are going to do the rest of the series. Don't do it based off the regular season. And that's coming from a Bulls standpoint, where the Bulls dominated. Do not look at the regular season and use that as an example in the equation to win a championship. The Heat got their big 3, shelled out the money for this right here, for this 7-game series to get to the NBA Finals, to crawl out of the Eastern Conference. This is where the big 3 are going to make their money. Okay, so they were not paid to win all their games in the regular season. You win in the postseason. That's what they're getting paid for. That's what they're going to show up for. Regular season, disregard it. This is a new series here with the Heat and the Bulls. and everything is on the line. And that's why I think the Bulls are going to show up, and that's why I think the Bulls are going to come away from it in 7 games. Most people are predicting a 6-game series. It's going to go 7, okay? And it's going to be one of the better series we've seen in a long time. The series goes 7, the Bulls come out of it. And I think the Bulls win Game 1 here. They have a lot to prove. They are waiting for this opportunity to really bring out all the guns, to really show how polished they really are. And I think that's how it's going to go. And that's the official Pippen Ain't Easy prediction. Bulls in 7. You can catch Game 1 tonight on TNT. You can catch the game recap on PippenAin'tEasy.com. You can follow us on Twitter for constant updates. Facebook, we're on Facebook. Check us out there, follow us, and you get access to the best Bulls information on the web. Unique in every aspect because it's geared towards you. Because we are one of you, okay? We're all Bulls fans. So PippenAin'tEasy.com is your home for the Bulls playoff championship run. Hopefully we're not getting a little ahead of ourselves there. But check out Bulls Talk tomorrow for hopefully a recap of a Bulls win over the Heat. Check out the site for all the news, Twitter and Facebook. We'll check you tomorrow. TNT in a couple hours. You know you'll be there. You know you'll be watching. It's Bulls Talk on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network.